seeing some of the stuff they did, that was the sort of thing that I wanted to be able to do. And there was no time like the present to basically get involved.
Hey guys, welcome to another Marketing for Dentists interview, where we are all about marketing and exposure for those dentists who aspire for more. Today, my special guest is Dr. Drew Winstanley. Thank you very much for coming on here, Drew, and agreeing to do this today.
No problem at all.
Good. Obviously, we've talked a lot about, various different things about your job and that kind of thing. And I just wanted to start with, what do you enjoy most about your job? Because I know, even in one of your YouTube videos, you talk about the fact that you're grateful to be doing a job that you love. So what do you enjoy most about what you do?
That's a good question. Probably just the change you can make to people, with doing things for people's smiles can have a massive impact on their confidence, on their quality of life, in some cases, and so the reward that you get from doing that is probably what I would say is the best part about it.
Brilliant. And is this what you've always wanted to do? Did you always want to be a dentist?
Probably since I was like 14, 15. When I was really little, I wanted to be a chef. Since I was 14, 15, I knew I wanted to do something like medical, dental related, and did a bit of work experience in both. And from that point, I pretty much sort of set myself on dentistry. So.
And how was it even just preparing for it? Did you find it quite difficult getting into dental school and obviously doing everything up until where you are now?
It's just a lot of work. I wouldn't say it was difficult in terms of what you had to do. There was just a lot of it that you needed to be willing to do and to put the work in to do it. So it wasn't hard work, but there was a lot of work.
Yeah. So would you say that you're an academic then? Would you say?
I don't know about that, but yeah, no, I worked hard at school. I worked hard for uni.
Brilliant. And so obviously you're coming into dentistry now, obviously after, and a lot has changed within dentistry. What are some of the things that you think have changed over time in dentistry and with where we are now?
I think that the main thing is, certainly at the minute, is digital. Obviously, scanners, treatment planning softwares, like the ClinCheck from Invisalign, digital smile design, all that sort of stuff. Especially, with cosmetic dentistry, makes a big difference, to sort of basically simulate treatment before you even start, so you sort of make your mistakes then, not on the patient, and also the patient can sort of see what they're getting before they sort of sign up as well. So it's beneficial to clinicians, beneficial to patients. I'd say that's probably the big one, and it's only going to get bigger and more useful and more helpful. So
yeah. And what do you think about the people though that in dentistry? Do you think that the dentist as a person is different to what it used to be?
I don't know is the honest answer. Obviously, I've only been qualified for 3 years, so I've only got my experience of the people I've met and the clinicians that I've met, which the majority of which are similar age. Obviously, I've done courses and things like that, and I met a lot of dentists through that. But the types of dentists that run those courses and go on those courses are quite forward thinking. So even the sort of older generation of dentists that are on those courses are forward thinking, and so I would say quite similar. But yeah, whether things have changed, it's a difficult one to answer.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned forward thinking. So would you consider yourself, obviously without, I'm not trying to say toot your own horn, but would you consider yourself a forward thinking dentist then?
I'd like to think so.
Mm.
You know, I'm quite open-minded, willing to try new things, willing to learn from other dentists. So yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, yeah, and from what I've seen, obviously, like looking at your online presence and all of that sort of thing, you seem to be doing incredibly well there, and even all the things that you do. Even before we get deep into like what you're doing, social media, and all these other things, what influenced you to kind of actually be open to be forward thinking, and what made you think what I don't want to just go with the norm. I want to do a bit
Yeah.
more.
Um, probably the pandemic, to be fair.
Mm.
So I graduated in 2018, so I did my VT 2018 to 2019, so pre-pandemic. And I sort of just, turned up for work, didn't really do any sort of further reading or anything. Enjoyed myself at the weekends and sort of quite happy doing Monday, Friday, 9 till 5, basic NHS dentistry, and then did that for about 5 months before the first lockdown. And then obviously we had 11 weeks to kill. So the first couple of weeks, there was a lot of Instagram scrolling, looking at other dentists. And I just thought, seeing some of the stuff they did, that was the sort of thing that I wanted to be able to do. And there was no time like the present to basically get involved. So I signed up to a course, and not really looked back since then. And like sort of found that the more I've exposed myself to and the more I've learned from other dentists, the more you realize there is to learn. And then you sign up to another course and then another course. And there's loads of courses that I'd like to do, but I can't afford to do. But yeah, so that's probably what sort of kickstarted me into wanting to learn more, and it's just sort of snowballed from there, really.
So would you say then that you are, because one thing that I've been trying to figure out, like meeting different dentists, speaking to different dentists, you find that there's some dentists that are quite very ambitious, they want to do this, they want to do that, and there's some that are a bit more, like you were saying, I just want to go to work, do my 9 to 5. So would you say then that, obviously you said the pandemic kind of changed things for you, so do you think that's when you changed as a person to a certain degree, or do you think you were always quite a bit of a go-getter, but then the pandemic just kind of kicked that in a bit?
Yeah, I'd say the second one. I think, like I said, I always worked hard and stuff and always wanted to be like number one when it came to exam results and things like that. But for whatever reason, I think probably I was just a bit uninspired throughout foundation training. Yeah, you have lectures, you turn up once a week, and they're a bit boring, and there was just nothing to really motivate me. And the pandemic was just a moment where I sort of like, right, take stock of where we're at, and sort of had a look at what other people were doing and realized that there's actually way more scope to get better and to improve than what I first thought. And so kicked on from there. And like I said, the more you look, the more you realize there's even more. So yeah, I'd say it's always been there, but there was just probably I didn't realize how far you could take things, and so there wasn't that sort of desire to learn more. And it was only when I realized that I was like, oh, cool, let's kick on and improve.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I bet there is people that, wish they could just have the same thing or have almost the switch that you had to just be like, look, I'm just going to kick into gear and, get going with things. So one of the things that I've noticed that you've done incredibly well is, you've got your branding and you've got your online presence there as well. How did you get started? Like, because a lot of people can think I need marketing, I need awareness, but what do I do first? How did you get started?
Well, from the course I did, so the course I signed up to was Monic Vasant's Totally Aesthetics program. And on the first day of that, he sort of talked a bit about personal branding and the importance of Instagram and all that sort of stuff. So that's sort of what first pushed me to Well, he basically said by the next day you all need to have made your own logo, basically. So it was that sort of made me have a bash at making my own logo. And then following on from that, probably maybe a month later, the practice that I was at the time signed up to Chris Barrow's associate development program. So basically the practice was paying a monthly fee, and each of the associates at the practice got access, and it was like a weekly webinar on all things dental that were non-clinical. So marketing, cash flow, finances, time management, things like that. So probably a mixture of Monik giving me the push initially, but then sort of taking it one step further and learning about the importance of reviews, the importance of video testimonials, that sort of thing on Chris Barrow's program is probably a combination of what sort of influenced what you can see as my online presence at the minute. So
okay, so you mentioned obviously doing your own logo after going to Monik Vasant's course. So have you done everything by yourself? So the logo and videos and all the other different bits.
I've not done the videos. The video is very good. I can't take credit for the videos. So the logo I did by myself. I just did that on Keynote on my Mac. The videos I was quite lucky. So what my brother's best friend's brother's best friend's brother is a professional videographer. So he came and did it for me at a good rate, mate's rate. So he came and did it for me, and hopefully he's coming. We're going to do a few more video testimonials from patients and things like that. Maybe get a couple of videos together that explain, that I can send to patients pre-consultations. This is what we do in the consultation process. This is what we do in the next phase, et cetera, so that they sort of understand what's going on before they get there. But yeah, so I can't take credit for the videos, but the rest of it I've done myself. So yeah, on my website I did all that myself. That took a lot of time, but it did save me a lot of money. I think probably strictly speaking, in terms of the website, its SOE is probably not as good as it could be because I did it, not a professional. But for myself, as an associate, I'm not looking to drive in hundreds and hundreds of patient inquiries like practice might be. So it's doing a good job, and when you consider it in combination with social media and things like that, and my my online reviews, all of them together bring enough traffic that it's keeping me busy enough. I mean the online reviews, obviously there's Google, but I use a review platform called Doctify, which I heard about through on a podcast, the Protrusive Dental podcast, and got signed up to it through that. And they're quite good. They basically, their reviews are sort of vetted for authenticity, so that it's not just your competitor down the road leaving you a 1-star review. It's an actual patient. And they then, you can use sort of their website and their SOE then attracts in patients as well. So that helps. And they do regular sort of coaching calls, just to sort of see where you're at, how you could collect more reviews, what the quality of your reviews are like, how to get better quality reviews, all that sort of stuff. So that's been really useful and quite helpful. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, because obviously, I have heard of Doctify, and I know a lot of people do use. So, would you advise other dentists to actually go on it?
I think it's one of those things where it's a slow burner, because to see the benefits, obviously you need enough reviews on the platform that you start to show up regularly, and then it takes time for the SEO and the analytics and all that sort of stuff to bring you up the pecking list. So I've only been using it about 6 months. I have noticed since I've been using it around 6 or so months that I've started to get more inquiries. So I wouldn't say I'm going to advise people to use it at the minute, because I think it needs a bit more time to see how useful it is. But certainly I think it probably is going to be something that's quite useful going forwards.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Sounds good. Sounds good. And obviously, you mentioned one of the things that you talked about was video testimonials, and I've seen your video testimonials online. They're really, really good. I think video testimonials are huge. Whenever people ask me about, what should I be doing, I always say video testimonials. And one thing that I think a lot of people are afraid of is actually asking the patient. So how have you got over that hurdle of asking patients to take videos, photos, and all these different things?
Well, I think so. Initially, I just asked patients, and understandably, some patients don't want them, videos of them giving a review on social media because they don't like the sound of their own voice or whatever. But I think the first thing to get over is the worst. If you ask and they say no, nobody else knows they said no. It's not really that awkward. You've not really lost anything. So once you get over that in your head, then it does make asking easier. But what I do, so I give patients a treatment plan letter. Once they've had the consultation, I give them a treatment plan. Well, take it back a step. So sometimes I do virtual consultations. I always mention it at the virtual consultations. So I give them sort of a run through of this is what we do. Then we've got the in-person consultation, which consists of this, this, and this. Then we've got the presentation of the plan. Then we'll do the treatment. Then blah, blah, blah. And then I always ask patients for a video testimonial. So it might be that I ask you, would you be cool with that? And at the time, everyone pretty much is like, yeah, like, that'll be fine. Because it's a long way in the future, so they don't really think about whether it might be in person or not. And then I put it in the treatment plan letter. So I set out the treatment plan. These, this is how much it's going to cost. I have a separate risks and benefits brochure which I give to them. And then at the bottom of the treatment plan letter it says, we'll take photos throughout the treatment. We'd be happy for these used on social media, etc., etc. At the end of your treatment, I always ask patients whether they'd be happy to leave a review and to do a video testimonial. Would you be happy with this? And then they sign and what have you. And then I just mention it again at the end. So normally I'll see them for the final appointment or review or whatever. Then I send out an email saying, good to see you today. Hope you've been happy with the treatment. It'd be really grateful if you'd leave me a review. At some point, we're doing some more video testimonials. If I contact you at this point, would you be happy for a video testimonial? And you'd be surprised. A lot more people say yes than you think. So,
yeah, that's really good.
I think if you just sort of mention it early doors and then mention it a couple of times throughout the whole process, they come to terms with the idea that actually won't be that bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it's such an important part, and I love that you've almost put it as part of your process. And I think that's where a lot of people fail, where they just kind of scantily ask people every now and again whenever they get a chance. But the thing is that when you do something like that, you're always going to forget. It'll be 6 months later, you're like, oh, I need to do that again. Whereas you've put it in your process, and therefore you always know to do it, and therefore you're always generating all of this content. So yeah, definitely I think that's a huge factor. And like you're saying, just getting over that hurdle of asking, which again, if you make it part of your process, it becomes a really important thing. And so one obviously social media platform that you've done incredibly well on is Instagram. So talk to me about Instagram. What are some of the things that you've done to kind of get a bit, get a following and stuff like that? And
I think probably one of the big things that I did. So I'm based in Sheffield. They have there's an Instagram page for Sheffield Independents. It's like independent businesses, and it's mainly like bars, restaurants, small independent shops, things like that. But I basically just contacted them, and they, for a small fee, I think it was 30 quid for two sort of shares a month. got them to share, and they had 14,000 followers on Instagram, and a lot of the people that were following were sort of that. At the time, the main thing I was looking for at the time, we were running Invisalign Open Day, and a lot of the people that were following that account would be the sort of demographic of people that might be interested in Invisalign. So I got a few followers through that. And then slowly, as you get more followers, then you word of mouth, patients sort of sharing things on Instagram, and then their friends follow you. And it's a slow burner, but we're getting there.
Okay. And on a day again, is it something that, do you get anyone to help you with the managing your Instagram, or do you just mainly do it by yourself?
Do it myself, yeah. I've not got to the point yet where I've got that many followers and that many DMs coming in that I need any help managing it. So I just manage it all myself.
And what advice would you give? Because obviously, and I understand you're an associate dentist, and even if someone actually looked at, there was a point where I actually thought, I think before we even started having conversations, there was a point where I actually thought you actually were a practice, like because of how good everything looks, So, like, what advice would you give to maybe other associates who are thinking, I don't have the time to do all of this stuff? Like, how do you manage your time such that you're able to do all of these things and still be able to actually be in practice and do your work?
And obviously, like making the logo and stuff took time. You've just got to set aside, if it's something that you want to do and you want to build your personal brand, etc., then either you pay someone to build your logo and your website and stuff for you, which is perfectly fine. That's a good thing to do, but it is expensive, especially if you go to some of the sort of better known companies that do it, or you set aside the time and just have a go. And it's like a lot of people, like if you read all those sort of self-help books, it's all about just give it a go and then sort of perfect it as you go along, sort of thing. So I just had a bash at making the logo, sent it around. I just, it didn't take me that long to do on Keynote, and then I sent it round to my family, to some of my friends, some other dentists that I know, and just said, what do you think? And from the feedback and stuff, managed to put that together, and then basically use that as a basis for then creating other content. And then, like I say, things like the video testimonials, the reviews, if you just make it part of your process, then it sort of looks after itself. And like the video testimonials, you just have to take a day out, maybe at a weekend, maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday, go into practice and organize for maybe 10 patients to come in, each give you a video testimonial, and then you've probably got enough content there for anywhere between 3 to 6 months, depending on how often you post. So, you only have to do it 2 days a year to get, 9-12 months worth of content. So it's when you sort of make it part of your workflow and then break it down like that, it's not too hard.
Yeah, brilliant. You make it sound easy. So it's just easy, guys. Come on now.
I don't do the making of videos. That's the hard bit. So.
Yeah. No, that's true. Now I think, like you're saying, it has to be something that you have to prioritize to a certain degree. Obviously, everyone's got life and they've got things to do. But I guess, like you're saying, if it's something that you actually want, you're gonna have to make time for it and make it happen.
Yeah, and I quite enjoy it, and I'm quite OCD about the aesthetic of my Instagram feed. So it's something I like take pride in and want to do to make it look as professional as possible. So yeah.
No, and it shows. We know you're OCD by looking at your Instagram. You're one of those dentist Instagrammers that everyone else hates because they're like, I can't reach that standard. It's too high. But no, it's good. And the encouraging fact is that you've done a lot of it yourself. So it should show people that, you know, you can actually do a lot of stuff if you really put your mind to it, you know, yourself, for a start, especially if you're an associate dentist.
I mean, Keynote makes everything really, really quite easy, to be fair. I'm no whiz at a computer or anything like that, but if you can use Keynote to a basic standard, then it does make your life quite easier.
Yeah, brilliant. And one thing that you mentioned was, obviously, like, as you keep going, referrals. You mentioned referrals is a big thing, and obviously I know that you can only really get referrals if people have come and have actually, you know, had a good experience with you. So is there any things that you do that, you know, to make sure that your patients actually, once they actually come to see you, they have a good experience and, you know, with you?
I think, like I said, one of the things that I'm hoping to do with the videos is make a video explaining the process from start to finish. So I generally send them like a text, which is just a generic text that I've got saved in my notes on my phone saying, "Hi, this is the process, looking forward to meeting you," etc. So I guess it starts from before you see the patient, and then it's just simple things like meeting them in the waiting room, pre-COVID or post-pandemic, shake their hand. Obviously, at the minute, it's still a grey area, things like that. And then I just try and be, you know, as accessible to the patients as I can be. So, you know, they've all got I've got a separate WhatsApp that patients can contact me on, and I always try and be, you know, responsive in a quick time if they've got any problems, and yeah, just be nice. And generally, you know, it seems to work.
Okay, because obviously you mentioned, so with the WhatsApp, so do people have access to you when you're at home as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because a lot of dentists will look at that and think, I don't want, you know, patients, you know, contacting me when I'm at home. What would you say to that?
Yeah. Well, basically, what I've got is like an eSIM on my iPhone. So if I don't want to be contactable, I can just turn the data off for the eSIM number. And then if I do want to be contactable, I can just turn it back on. So I think, like, I try not to be on my phone too much to patients outside of work, but at the same time, that tends to be when they, you know, if they've got a problem during the day, they just ring the practice anyway. If they've got a problem at the weekend, then it's kind of useful to be accessible if needed.
And so do you mainly use WhatsApp for communicating with patients then?
Yeah, you know, patients, well, they either reach out to me through Instagram or through the website generally, and then I try and get their number fairly quickly to then continue the conversation on WhatsApp.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think WhatsApp works for that purpose? Do you think WhatsApp works better than text messages, or?
Not well. It probably works exactly the same. I just generally it's all encrypted, isn't it? WhatsApp, so you can like send more patient details stuff and things like that. So
yeah, no, that's true.
That's the only reason I use WhatsApp.
Yeah, because I also find that I feel like WhatsApp is less intrusive than text messages as well, don't you think? In a sense that you feel like you're not. Yeah, because WhatsApp feels a bit more like another social media platform, whereas text is right in there.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Yeah, so I did. Yeah, I don't know. I found that, you know, a lot of people that I do work with do use WhatsApp as well, and even like what you said, I like what you said, that, you know, you send them a text message even before they come in. You know, I've met people who, when I've said that to them, it's blown their mind. Like, why would you do that? And, you know, but like you said, clearly it's working very well for you because you're getting the cases. And for a lot of people that I've seen, you know, doing that does, you know, has helped them. And like you said, you know, having the WhatsApp business and, you know, having the separate WhatsApp there works very well. No, that's fine. And so just to kind of wrap things up, what would you say have been some highlights for you in your dental journey so far?
Highlights what in a sense of what I've learned the most from, enjoyed the most, or
yeah, what you've learned, what you've really enjoyed, so far.
I think number one would be doing Monic's course. That was the sort of real eye opener about how much there was to learn and how far you could take it if you wanted to. So that would definitely be up there. Running Invisalign Open Day was good fun and quite rewarding because I did get a lot of patients from that, and then a lot of patients secondary to that as well, from patients that came on the open day and then who had friends come in for treatment. And then probably then moving jobs recently as well. I know they said on the back of having seen my Instagram and stuff like that, that was one of the things that helped me to get the job. So they're probably three of the recent highlights anyway.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. And what would you say if you had to speak to yourself? So if you had to speak to yourself before the COVID pandemic, when you were just kind of doing the going 9 to 5, type thing, if you had to speak to yourself, what would you say to yourself?
I'll probably say, I was a bit bored and unmotivated, so I would say, go and look for a challenge or something to motivate you and excite you, rather than just plodding along and then partying on a Friday and Saturday night. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just, finally, I always ask people this question because I always think it's really important, to kind of have a bit of a reason why you do what you do and that kind of thing. So what would you say is the impact that you're trying to make on this world, just you as a person, whether it's through dentistry or just do you as a person?
That's a tough question to answer. I guess just to help as many people as possible in whatever way I can. So obviously through dentistry, that sort of speaks for itself. Doing an Invisalign treatment, doing a smile makeover, etc., has a big impact on a person's life. But yeah, just helping out as many people as I can, and obviously the more you give, the more you get back. So it works both ways. But
yeah, absolutely, brilliant. And finally, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, Instagram is a good place to find me. My website, which is just Winstanleydentistry.com. Instagram is probably the best place to find me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for doing this with me, Drew. It's been really good.
No worries, mate. Not a problem at all.
Good. Now, that's great. Thank you, everyone, for watching, for listening to this interview. So please remember to follow Drew. I will put his details below. And please remember to follow Marketing for Dentists as well. We will see you on the next interview.